Now I want to introduce our speaker, Lee Colan. Lee has been encouraging and equipping leaders for healthy growth since 1999. I will tell you the real cool thing that he does, since there's a weekly email that he puts out about leadership and dealing with humans, okay? And as we all know, dealing with humans is, it's kind of like the dog video going, my human won't do what I want it to do. We all have that issue somewhere out there. So Lee does a lot of those kinds of things in putting information out. He's a former corporate leader, current CEO advisor, independent director, and also an organizational psychologist. He's authored 16 different leadership books and is a PhD in organizational psychology from George Washington University. Today he's going to talk about healthy leadership, and I know we can all use that. So let's welcome Lee.
Good morning, folks. I know it's Wednesday morning, but I feel like I'm in church, so okay. No one wants to come up front? Okay, all good, it's all right. What's the old saying? Business would be easy if it wasn't for people, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But in the fall, if you kind of fast forward or rewind just a little bit, you could kind of, if you may have seen this image sometime in the fall, the geese kind of flocking. And I like this just metaphor. I think nature has a lot to tell us about human beings and about leadership particularly. And what's interesting about these geese is that they fly in this V formation because if any one of them falls out, they feel the extra drag of flying on their own. So flying in this V formation provides a 71% decrease in the energy it takes for them to fly, right? And then if you really watch them for a while, you watch the lead goose occasionally will kind of come back to the back, and another goose will kind of come up and take the lead and give them a little bit of a break. And then you also may have heard them honking once in a while, if you ever heard honk, honk, all right? And they're basically encouraging each other. What's really interesting to me is that if one of these gets hurt or injured, that goose goes to the ground, but is always followed by at least two other geese, follow to the ground, and until that goose that is injured or hurt either dies or recovers, then and only then, the other two that went with them kind of either go back with them into another flock or find their original flock. So I just think there's a lot of lessons here about, as healthy leaders, the bottom line is as human beings, we long to belong. We want to feel connected. And these geese have a little bit to tell us about that. So healthy leaders really do all of these things. I want to just share a little bit about with that today. So let me just kind of rewind and step back a little bit and look at kind of the shifts in worker focus. So this is from Gallup research that was done pre-pandemic, 2017 actually, and just like any good crisis, right, the pandemic accelerated these trends. So we have this thing where I used to work for a paycheck, now I want to work for a purpose. And I know we have a lot of financial folks in there like, are you kidding me, Lee? Come on, people want to still work. Just trust me. We have a lot of clients now, and there people come in saying like, what do you do to make the world a better place? Like, how do you serve the community? Like, that's a primary filter for them, for the new worker coming in now. They want a boss versus a coach. They want a coach versus a boss. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. They're focused on strengths versus weaknesses, right? And so I know it's a little bit of a dilemma here because I want to give them feedback and stuff, but we'll talk a little bit about how strengths-based coaching yields better performance than weakness-based. But they're very focused on their strengths, finding their natural gifts and trying to thrive in those areas. And then it used to be my job, now it's my life. Remember back in the day it was work-life balance? Remember that? All right. And then it went to kind of work-life integration. Well, now it's just like life. Like this is my life. You might see me on a Zoom call, my baby's behind me, my dog, whatever. Like, it's just me. I'm a whole person coming to work. So we have to acknowledge that as leaders. So just out of curiosity, has anyone seen some of these shifts in their own workers? Anything different from this? Anything you've seen different from this? No? Okay. There are other trends. I just want to highlight a few, but we're going to talk about how we might address each of these, okay? Leadership is an inside job. We start with ourselves, and I share that with you to set this up because this model of our principles or our mindset on the top, the principles are the mindset of love, positivity, and growth, and then the practices or the skill set of clarify, connect, and coach, okay? Mindset over skill set. We've got to get our mind right first. So I'm going to talk about each of these as we develop this model over a couple-year period of time with our own experience with our clients and research and stuff, great stuff from independent resources like Gallup. The first pushback we got was like, love in the workplace? Like, give me a break. Well, I will just tell you, it's the most spoken about, sung about, written about topic in the world. And like, why wouldn't it belong in the workplace? But let me just kind of identify and share this with you real quick. This is simply how we define it. Doing what's in the best interest of others. That's it. That's all there is. So it's Putting others before yourselves. When our son was playing football at a local high school here, his coach had these big T-shirts made up with a big T, T-E-A-M, team, and a little bitty me underneath it, right? Team over me. And it's the same principle we're talking about here. Others before yourself. All right. So that also means having to get your ego out of the way and get your mindset right to make sure you're doing what's in the best interest of others. And it also means sometimes, who here loves having a tough performance conversation with their employees? Any masochists in the crowd? Okay. Isn't that really fun? Those are really fun, aren't they, right? Right? Well, the fact is, it's uncomfortable, so we can pull away from that. But the fact is, if we really are leading with love, we're like, you know what, I've got to do what's in the best interest of that employee. It may not be comfortable for me. Right? My discomfort has to be subordinated to what's in the best interest of that person and helping them, giving them feedback, and lifting them up ultimately, hopefully, right? So let's move on to positivity here. And here's how we define positivity. Just simply managing negative emotions and increasing positive ones. This is not about, I know you probably saw the word positivity, it sounds like very Pollyanna, but let me just give you a quick primer here on brain science, right? So our brain is made up of 100 billion with a B, billions, for us old fogies in the house like me, remember Carl Sagan, billions and billions, remember? 120 billion neurons, which is basically just a cell in the brain, right? But each one of those 120 billion neurons is connected to 10,000 other neurons. That's like a DFW flight map on steroids, right? It's mega connected. But the interesting thing is that over about 10 years ago, through MRI science, they found that, or that technology, they found that we used to think for years that like our brain kind of just like deteriorated over time, but our brain is actually neuroplastic. In other words, we can rewire those connections in our brains by the way we kind of think about things. We could make more what's called a synapse, which is a connection between the neurons. We could kind of do things over and over. Let me give you an example of that. Let me just ask you, how long do you think a human emotion lasts? When you experience something, good or bad, how long do you think that lasts? Ballpark, just throw some numbers out.
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
An hour.
30 seconds. Could be a lifetime, I heard. Yeah, okay, right, okay. It lasts about 45 seconds. You guys are pretty close. So you might be thinking, 45 seconds, like I feel something horrible, like that could stick with me for a long time. Right? And we'll work with clients, it's amazing. They'll talk about, yeah, remember the time when then this merger happened and they treated us horribly and like there's all this angst around it, and I'm hearing it from every employee, and so I'm taking my notes, I'm thinking, okay, like tell me when this happened. Man, this was 2010. I would never say this, but I'm thinking, oh my God, get over it. Like, that's 13 years ago, really? But so what happens is the emotion lasts for 45 seconds, but then we ruminate on it. So then what we're doing is we're starting to create these synaptic connections so it gets wired. So thoughts that kind of fire together get wired together. So the more we start thinking about things and replaying it in our minds and ruminating on it, then it's like, wow, they're just creating this strong connection. Well, the good news is we could do it for positive things also, right? That's how we have to manage our mind a little bit. Go ahead and write down on the same pad, write down something you have to do today. Just write it. I have to work out. I have to have this discussion. I have to go meet with a client. I have to get this proposal out. Just write one thing you have to do. Everyone got one thing? Okay, now I simply want you to cross out the word have, and below it put get. And can I just have a couple volunteers and read your sentence to me now? Your thing you have to do today? Back here, yes sir, nice and loud.
I get to prepare for my CPA.
There we go. All right, so you might think I have to, like, right? And then you say you get to. How does that change how you feel about that?
Positive.
Right? A little more, maybe with a little more gratitude, right? Look forward to it, all right? Give me one more. One more example. Right here, right up front. Thank you. Nice and loud.
I have to underwrite an office building loan in Bedford.
I have to underwrite an office building loan in Bedford, okay? And now it's, I get to. And when you say you get to, is that good for your business to be able to do that?
Absolutely. It puts me in a better frame of mind.
Absolutely, right? So I don't care if it was, I have to go do laundry, I have to go run errands, I gotta clean the house. I have to. My wife's pet peeve of this is like she hates laundry, right? So she had to reframe it, and she's like, you know what? I get to do laundry. I've got kids in the house. I've got all this laundry. I have working washers and dryers. We take that for granted. I don't have to go to the laundromat, right? We have energy in the house. I get to do that. So I would just encourage you to think about just how we have those conversations with ourselves. Sometimes simple reframing helps us kind of take a better perspective and a little more gratitude toward it. Hands at your side, please. Okay. Everyone fold their arms. Okay. That was pretty quick. No one had to think about that. You got your glasses in the way, that's okay. Okay, fold your arms. You able to do that pretty easily? You have to think about it? Does it feel comfortable? We're not doing a nonverbal communication class. It's okay. It's not like okay. Go ahead and put your arms down. Now, please do the same thing, but fold your arms the opposite way. The other hand over this one. A couple of you still working on it, I see. Okay. How does that feel? A little awkward? He's still trying to get that right, Al. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay. A little weird, right? Okay, you can put your arms down. Now fold your arms. How'd you fold them? The old way, right? Go sit down. All right, we'll talk about it in a second. So here's the deal. A simple act like that, it feels awkward when we try to change things. Just a little bit, the simplest of things. All growth and learning occurs when we're uncomfortable, right? We all strive for that time to I just want to be cruising. I just want to have everything taken care of to be cruising. Well, businesses and people are either growing or dying, right? So we have to be pushing. We have to get a little uncomfortable. It's great to get systems in place and be in a rhythm, but getting in a good groove turns into a rut pretty quickly. So you just got to be careful with that. So before we move on to the skill set, any questions or observations or things that you've seen love, positivity, and growth working out in your life or in your business? Any examples? I'm sure we have a great group of best practices right here. Any examples anyone wants to share or things that you've done that might be worth the group hearing about? I know you're pretty successful people in here, so nice and loud, Mark.
I journal every morning.
Mark journals every morning. Beautiful. A great place to kind of have that reflection time. How does that help you, Mark?
It just really calms me down and gets me focused on the day, so I go in and I just feel like I impact people a lot better, more positively.
Calms them down, focuses, feels like he has a better positive impact. I do a gratitude journal every morning, right? I'll just write down, I start everyone, Dear Jesus, and I just thank you for this, and this, right? Whatever your beliefs is, whatever. But just some quiet time when you're with yourself, thinking about to me, your thoughts get clear when they go from your mind to your pen, right? So just the act of writing it down, lots of research, and it's in the book, thank you for bringing that out, on the power of journaling. So thinking about that, whatever way works for you, it's great. Anything anybody else does to kind of help them with any of these? Kayla.
So I'm cheating a little bit because I've read the book,
Okay.
but we started doing highs and lows
Great.
on our team calls, and at first it was all personal and that sort of thing, and now we're hearing things like, yesterday was my favorite day at work ever,
Awesome.
and stuff like
Cool.
that. So it's been really good, and I think my team would revolt
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
stopped.
All right, cool. We were just speaking at the AMC Theater's annual leadership conference last week, and a guy in the crowd was like, when I tell someone what to do and they don't get it, what should I do? And so someone else in the crowd, much more seasoned, says, well, you should say it again, even clearer. I was like, and so I get the point, it's fair, but the fact that in communication, what we say is frankly less important than what is heard. So we get so emphatic, and this is nothing against that guy, we all think that. I say it again, I say it louder, I say it more emphatically, like that's gonna help. So make sure that you're confirming. Tell me what you understood. Show me, even better, show me what that means and what that looks like. But here's the pushback we get from leaders. Lee, I don't got time to do that, Lee. You've been out of the workforce too long, Lee. We're just busy. We're on the treadmill at work. And I'll just say, it's a pay me now or pay me later leadership proposition. Clarify it now, or you're gonna have to clarify it later, right? And we call that re-coaching. That's never fun. Who enjoys that conversation when you've had that chat with your employee about something and they didn't meet your expectations? Is that fun? Just trust me, it's no fun for them either. So take the time up front to be really clear. So under clarify, we talk about clarifying your vision for the business, clarifying your expectations, and clarifying your values, how we go about our business. So I'm going to share with you just a simple template we use, and it's based on a meta-analysis, which is an analysis of analyses. You guys know that. Over a 50-year period of time, all the published employee attitude, culture, and engagement surveys, all chunked together. You know the general topics, growth and blah, 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 all the different topics in those surveys. What do you think is the lowest scoring topic over a 50-year period of time in all those surveys? Throw out a guess. Communication, yeah, I led you in there. All right, it's communication. It's lack of communication. Not very helpful to me, frankly, because even raise your hand if you cannot communicate any better with your teams right now. Okay, that's good, because we have a little separate session for egomaniacs next door. Okay, we all know we can do a little better with that, right? But what's interesting, if you do a factor analysis on those results, they boil down what we call into what's called the fundamental four. They're in the book, but if you want to jot them down here. The fundamental four questions that every employee is asking, whether or not you hear them. Where are we going? What are we doing to get there? How do I contribute? And what's in it for me? I'm going to give you the shorthand version of that now. Where are we going? What's our goal? What are we doing to get there? What's our plan? How do I contribute? What's my role? What's in it for me? My rewards. And not just financial rewards, rewards social, emotional, professional. Do I get to grow? Do I get to be part of a winning team, right? So goals, plans, roles, and rewards. Whether or not you hear your team asking that, you need to be consistently answering those questions every opportunity. Don't just answer it once. Okay, we're done, we check it off. We have a rule of 6. You need to answer things at least 6 times, communicate things at least 6 times until people get it. It has nothing to do with their intelligence. It just has to do with there's a lot coming at them, right? Jack Welch, former CEO of GE, used to say, you got to communicate till you're sick of hearing yourself, ... and then you got to communicate some more, right? Okay. So here's what happens if you don't answer the fundamental 4 questions. People fall into what's called the silence spiral, where silence leads to doubt, leads to fear, leads to panic, leads to worst case thinking, right? It's the time you go, in fact, one of the people at the conference we were just at, he goes, yeah, and after every shift, I make my way through the theater and I say goodbye to everybody, just as kind of a goodbye, thank you, have a good night. Great touch, I love it. But if that guy one time forgets he misses somebody, all of a sudden they're thinking, oh my gosh, Pat didn't say goodbye tonight. Oh my, I'm on the bubble. I better just pack up and get out of here, right? And it almost sounds ludicrous, but that's just how a human insecurity. Our brain is wired to protect ourselves. That's really what it's for. It's really for protection. And so we look for, and to predict, we look for data points. So whatever data we have, we're going to pull together. If we don't have all the right data, it doesn't matter. We'll take whatever data is available, and many times can get 2 + 2 = 5. Oh, Pat just left. Well, Pat just didn't know. Maybe you were in the restroom when he was making the rounds, and that was it, right? So when you'll see this happen in your organization, the old water cooler talk will happen, right? So we want to make sure that we're giving people valid, current, and accurate information about all those 4 questions, our goals, plans, roles, and rewards, so they could create an image of what's happening in their world and in the future, an accurate image, and not have wasted energy and fall down this silent spiral. Don't take it personally if it happens in your organization, but just take it as a challenge on your leadership communication that you need to proactively answer those 4 questions to avoid the silent spiral. So before we wrap up, let me just ask, any questions that you, or just examples that you've seen how clarifying, connecting, and coaching has played out in your life or your business? Again, these principles are all, we can apply this to our family or anywhere. Yes, Bill?
Well, you don't even know this, but you gave me your book a couple of days after it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that book and read it a number of times through a successful succession plan.
Cool.
Because I wasn't asking the right questions, and I wasn't going to the strengths enough. And I was trying to fix weaknesses.
All right. Very nice.
And when I stepped away from that,
Cool.
and it was a process.
Yeah.
But a successful one at the end of the day.
Awesome.
And your book had a lot to do with it.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me introduce you to my PR agent, Bill Wallace. Thank you very much.
By the way, I didn't get the check last
Yeah, sorry. It's in the mail. Thank you. Back here and then one back here.
I'll tell you a penny story. I heard thank you needs to be said several times a day to people, not just thank you generally, but thank you for this or that.
Right, specifically.
I literally put 5 pennies in my pocket, and every time I said thank you during the day, I moved the pennies. I made sure at least 5 times. Just
Beautiful.
have it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent. And listen, we all don't naturally think about this stuff. I'll have clients like, put an Outlook reminder at the end of every day, like, who did you appreciate today? Just something. Listen, we have to use our systems, even if we don't naturally think about that stuff. Figure out ways to kind of work with a system to kind of help remind you. I love that. Love that idea. Thank you. In the back here, please.
Yeah, where does humor fit into your equation? the ability and the need.
Listen, I think humor is a great gift. It helps break through a lot of things. I love humor, and I just think to the extent that it's done appropriately, but I think it relieves pressure, lightens up a room. Who else? Raise your hand if you don't like to laugh. I mean, give me a break, right? I think that's part of what we want to bring into the workplace. So I think it's a great gift if you bring it in naturally, right? Thanks for your time today, folks. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the time. I can tell you will enjoy the emails. I was on leave today before we started, and it's one of the things I look forward to seeing in my inbox. You know, when you get several hundred emails a day, you get a little humdrum at times, but that email has always got such strong, unique information and thought process that it really does transform you and make you a better person.